We are to think together this morning on the always hauntingly wistful subject of the land and life beyond. There are many sayings in the Bible, both in the Old and in the New Testaments, that might well point our meditation on such subject. But the saying in the Bible that seems to be most definite and gracious and reassuring of all the Bible sayings about the land and life beyond is the oft-quoted saying of Jesus in that memorable 14th chapter of John. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. Heaven is a prepared place for a prepared people. It behooves us to think more and more about that land beyond. It is the eternal residence for all who are willing to be the friends of Christ. We should think of it oftener because every day brings us nearer and nearer to that goodly land. You will recall from the Bible reading that the ancient Hebrews had a saying of which they made much. The prophet Jeremiah tells us about it. Let Jerusalem come into your mind. Wearied, bedraggled, battling, burdened, heart sore and heavy soul. Look up, look out, and let Jerusalem come into your mind. Jerusalem was the ancient Jews' supreme glory. There was his great temple. There were the mighty memories and the wonderful traditions and the great lessons bound up with that great people of old. And though they were scattered, oft times in bondage, alas, alas, as they are today to the shame of humanity beyond words. O Jew, wherever you are, said Jeremiah the prophet, let Jerusalem come into your mind. Far more pertinently may we say, as we travel on, in the midst of a world of change and upheaval and confusion and fearful uncertainty, let the heavenly Jerusalem come into your mind. That was a very revealing statement that one of the great judges of the country made to me a while ago when he said, you preachers need often to speak to us about the land and life beyond. We are earthbound, he said. The spell of the secular and the temporal weighs heavily upon us. We are prone to lose sight of the fact when a few more turns of the clock shall come, we'll be in another world. You need to tell us about it. make it plain. I am sure that the great jurist who talked wistfully as he talked with me about it talked wisely and well. Often in life, as we journey on, and particularly does a preacher know this, in his conversations with the people, the wistful question is thrust upon him, asked thousands of years ago by Job, if a man die, shall he live again? That question seems to be the most eagerly asked question in life's serious moments everywhere. In the great war in Europe above 20 years ago, when it was my sacred joy to preach to practically every American camp, Christ and Him crucified, the boys by the uncounted thousands talked to me at close range. And in every such talk they put in the insistent question, if I should go west, what about it? They didn't use the word death one time. If I should go west, is that all? Is there anything more? It isn't surprising that much current literature of today is permeated with Job's ancient question, if a man die, shall he live again? And it isn't at all surprising, particularly to a preacher, that there's the solemn undertone in conversation about the land and life beyond. I saw one the other day, verging on a good piece beyond 80 years of age, and the voice was lowered as that one said, what would you tell me about the land and life beyond? I'll soon be somewhere. You will recall that Job asked this question in an agony. If a man die, shall he live again? Job looked around him and saw the tragic fact of death everywhere in evidence. Whichever way his eyes were turned, he beheld the ravages of death. He cried out, man dieth and wasteth away, and where is he? If a man die, shall he live again? Does death end all? Is death an eternal sleep? Is there to be no hereafter? Is the grave a blind alley down which we go to come back therefrom no more and to be heard of never again? Oh, 'tis the great question. 'Tis the great question. One sometimes wonders why we are not told more in the Bible about the great hereafter. We're told enough, but one sometimes wonders why we're not told more. I think there are two reasons close at hand why we're not told more. One is Jesus does not wish to detract from the critical importance of this life. You and I are in the world on a divinely appointed mission. Do we realize it? Or are we selfish, self-eaten men and women forgetting that? To every man his work, to every woman her work. Have we found it? Have we tried to find it? Are there men today in this audience or listening in radio land who ought to be preaching, who ought to go as missionaries far hence before the sun sets and the night falls on a pagan world, And are there women that ought to go as teachers? And are there doctors that ought to go? I talked with one this week who said, here in our College of Medicine, I'm eager to get through, that I may get away to help the people in the pagan world. Ought you to be in that company? And you? Jesus does not wish to detract from the critical importance of this life. This life is crowded with great meanings. How awful for a man, a woman to waste life. How awful to waste the assets of life, life's money, life's time, life's opportunities. How awful to waste life. Jesus wants us to play the game worthily while we are here, clear down to the last hour. He doesn't wish to detract from the critical importance of this life. He wouldn't be pleased for us to get under the shade of the tree and spend all our time thinking about the next one. We're not there yet. We'll be there, I trust, by and by, all of us, God grant it. But there's plenty for us to do now while we're here. No, it's terrible if we fail to do it. If we fail to do it, if we build our little nests and let the world go pell-mell and forget the will of God, 'tis awful. 'Tis awful. Then again, Jesus hasn't told us more about the land and life beyond because he would teach us to walk by faith, not by sight. The highest discipline of the human soul is to walk by faith. We have to take many things on faith. We take Jesus on faith. We take many things on trust. We take Jesus on trust. He asks us, now haven't I said enough and done enough and lived enough before you that you can risk all on me? Which of you can convict me of sin? You can convict anybody else of sin. What have I ever said or done that was untrue and unwise and unrighteous? Haven't I authenticated myself, corroborated myself, vindicated myself? Is there any risk in anybody's tying his all to me? He wishes to teach us to walk by faith, highest discipline of the soul of all. You remember that Jesus tells us in the Gospels when he was here, the Gospels tell us that when he was here, the Pharisees followed after him, picked flaws with all he said, cavilled and denied and questioned. And they were all along demanding that he give them a sign. Give us a sign and we'll believe. Why, to give a sign would be coerced faith. There'd be no moral quality in that. He doesn't wish a coerced faith. He wishes a willing, sincere, candid, straightforward, uncoerced faith. Faith coerced wouldn't be faith at all. So he doesn't give signs at all. He's given enough evidence for any intelligent and candid person in the world to take him at his word when he tells us whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe. Here's the end of all debate. Here's the ultimate of all wisdom and grace and hope, the Lord Jesus Christ. Just as of old all roads led to ancient Rome, so all evangelical preaching and teaching leads us to Christ. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. And now he said, I'm going away. I'm leaving you. But I tell you before I go, and I leave it on abiding record for all who are yet to live in the earth, I go to prepare a place for those who are willing to be my friends. And if I go and prepare such place, I'll come back again. the right time, in the right way, and I'll receive all such unto myself, that where I am, there they may be. They'll be with me forever. They'll be like me. They'll be like me. Oh, wondrous, wondrous unfoldment. One day we're to be like Christ through the riches of his grace. Now, the Bible gives us glimpses of that great place, the land and life beyond. In the last book of the New Testament, there are outflashings revealing something of that place. There are little glimpses through which light comes. There are half-open windows to that place beyond. And now and again the window is wider and then it's more closed, for it isn't time for us to be away. We do well to think a great deal about the land and life beyond. The old Hebrews, I repeat, comforted themselves, fortified themselves, revitalized their patience and their poise and their courage when they thought of Jerusalem. Far more, we are to think of that place when the day's work is done, when the homecoming time has arrived, when the reunion spell is to be real. We're to think of that place again and again. The Bible flashes different features concerning that goodly land beyond. If you should be asked, what is there about heaven that most appeals to you, what would you say? Bethink you a moment. Oh, there is everything in heaven to satisfy. What is there about heaven as you think of it that most appeals to you today? That place. I go to prepare a place for you. What kind of a place is it? What feature in that place Jesus has prepared and is preparing? What feature most appeals to you as you call to mind glimpses concerning it, left us in the Holy Bible? What feature most appeals to you? What kind of a place is it that Christ's friends are going to when the sunset hour comes, when the day's work is done? Where are we going? What kind of a place is it? Well, 3 or 4 references are given here of great significance. First of all, it is a holy place. A holy place. Nothing that defileth shall ever enter that place. There shall never be the hint, the remotest touch of sin in that heavenly land. Who wouldn't want to go there? Who doesn't sigh to be a good man or a good woman in the sight of the eye of the omniscient Lord? Heaven is a place of security against all evil, against all sin. We are living in a world of pitfalls and perils. Seductive temptations peer out at us, lie in wait for us on every side. Enervating, down-pulling influences are in evidence on every side. Often do we sing with the poet, prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Even Paul said, when I would do good, evil is present with me. And that great soul of the apostle uttered his cry, I know that in me, that is in my flesh, there dwelleth no good thing. Oh, one day, friends of Jesus, when their earthly day has been finished, shall go home. They shall awaken in the likeness of Christ. We shall not only be with him, but we shall be like him. What feature of heaven most appeals to you? What about that place is most enthralling to you? Well, it's a place where weariness shall be unknown. A place of perfect and eternal rest. That appeals to many. Many go with burdens all the while, even physical burdens, most laborious and weighty. Doesn't your heart sigh when you see a woman carrying some load that no woman ought to carry? And doesn't your heart sigh when you see a little child with burdens laid upon its little shoulders that are too heavy for a child to carry? And doesn't your heart sigh when you see an old man shambling on, trying to fight life's battle because he must? His bread and his meat, his daily necessities are involved. Often these sights are profoundly appealing to us, and we wish it could be better. Well, it will be. I said to a needlewoman, as I tried to cheer her one day in a visit, the lone mother with her children. The husband had gone on beyond. And I saw to fortify her in that visit that day a little while. And I talked to her about heaven, and she laid down her garments on which she was working. She asked me to forgive her while she worked, for she said, every waking hour counts with me and for these children. And she said, as I talked to her about that place, do you want me to tell you the feature that most interests me about heaven? And I said, I do. What is it? She said, I'll rest. I haven't rested in a long time. When I sleep, I'm thinking about these children getting work. And I'm going from place to place getting sewing, so that I have bread for these children and clothing for their little bodies. I'll rest when I get home. Well, she will. There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God. The hymnologist sang there, I shall bathe my weary soul in seas of heavenly rest, and not one wave of trouble roll across my peaceful breast. Now, the opposite is true. Work in that land of light, certainly that will be our portion. I feel about it like great President Harper of Chicago University. He was sick a while, dying from cancer. Dr. Frank Gonzalez, the great Chicago preacher, called on him often, was his closest spiritual advisor. And he said, so Dr. Gonzalez tells us, oh, I hope Jesus will have work for me to do over there. I'd be lost if I had to sit and hold my hands. I would. You must give me work to do. Well, we'll have plenty to do. Oh, it will be glorious work. There's no telling the missions on which we'll go when we get home. I may have this audience with me one day on a great journey. We'll take in the cloudless land, the eternal land. Work, but it'll be work without weariness, work without any trying vigils of any kind. Heaven is a place of exemption. Absolute exemption from all suffering and pain and death. Oh, that feature, how haunting it is to get to a land where there shall never be the suggestion of death or pain or suffering again. Who are these, arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? Sir, thou knowest, these are they who came out of great tribulation and washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. And there shall be no more suffering, no more pain for them, no more tears. There shall be no more death. It isn't any wonder that Bobby Burns never could read that sentence from Revelation or hear it read except with an immediate sob. There shall be no more death. Great-hearted Bobby Burns, that child of nature so close to humanity in his heart, sobbed when he thought of a land where death should never menace it, and no hearse should stand at the gate, and no clod should fall on the body when the hour came to lay it finally away. There shall be no more death. There shall be no more death. Heaven is a place for the glorious and perfect manifestations of knowledge. We shall know, even as we also are known. Now we see through a glass darkly. Now we see through a blurred glass. But then shall we see and know, even as also we are known. Oh, the questions that perplex us here, the bewilderments and the confusions that confront us here, the unanswered enigmas before which we pause down here. There'll be no more of that when we get home. No more of it. We shall know, even as also we are known. That penetrating, persistent, and searching question, why? Why? We'll have it all made plain. God knows the way. He holds the key. He guides us with unerring hand. Someday with tearless eyes we'll see and understand. Why, what we long for most of all eludes the grasp of eager hand. Why hopes are crushed and castles fall, we'll understand. Heaven is a place of glorious revealing. We shall know even as we are known. It may be that the most haunting place of all, haunting thought of all, concerning heaven is that it is to be home. It is to be home. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I'll come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. It is our final, perpetual, eternal home for all who are willing to be the friends of Christ. Oh, the music and the melody and the meaning in that word home. Be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. Some of us can hearken back and do to our own homes in the years gone. Many of us far in the remote country places. And the day would all be rounded out and its duties met, and the shadows of night were on. And there'd be a little mother going through that home, saying, are you all here, children? And are you well? Is everything all right? And in that sort of atmosphere, in childhood, we fell asleep and went away unafraid into the night and the land of dreams. Heaven is to be home. I talked to a man the other day, and he said, I thought last night was my time to go home. And I said, well, what about it? Oh, he said, I can't tell you how glad I was. He said, I don't know that I saw her with my natural eyes. Anyway, I saw Mother. And oh, he said, you should have seen her smile as she seemed to be calling me. And then he said, for he read a great deal, he couldn't hear, he read a great deal. He said, you know, Bunyan talked about getting homesick when he got glimpses of that heavenly home. Well, he said, I know what he was talking about. I'm homesick to go home. And he said, next to seeing Jesus, I'll see Mother, for she was always looking out for me. She never went to her sleep at night that she didn't see that all was well with me. And he said with a rapture indescribable on his face, I expect to see her again soon. and I'll be with her, and I'll hear, and I'll be well forever.
Amen.
Heaven is home. Heaven is home. No matter how humble the place is down here, 2 little rooms or maybe 1, if love's there, if confidence is there, if trust is there, if mutual care is there, that's home. Money can't make a home, nor wealth, nor gilded palaces, nor rich adornments. Far deeper and higher than that is the true home. Confidence and trust, mutual sharing and love, that's home. That's home. Have you made arrangements to go there? There's just one way there. Just one way. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved. He that climbeth up some other way is a thief and a robber. Christ is the way home. Is he your Savior? Is he your Savior? The pastor feels about his congregation like a mother feels, a true mother, when she goes the last thing at night and looks about at the cots, but the children sleeping are not yet asleep. Children, are you all right? Are you well? Are you here? The pastor feels that way about his congregation. I think about you every day and I wonder, is it well with your soul? For you will go away soon, and so will I. Where would you go? Where would you go? I'm not troubled about where I'm to go. I've not one anxiety about it. I know whom I have believed, and I am persuaded that he is able to keep that which I have committed unto him against that day. Oh, are you resting only and solely on Christ? Do you sing, on Christ, the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand? Do you think of the great truth, his oath, his covenant, his blood, support us in the whelming flood? When all around our souls give way, Christ then is all our hope and stay. On Christ, the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. Oh, have you built wisely, securely, safely, my dear, dear friends, whom I see in this great throng within these walls and whom I think of in radio land, near and far? Have you built on Christ? Are you resting only, simply, solely on Christ, the one mediator between God and man? Our physician that knows what to cure us in the sickness of sin that enslaves us. Our lawyer that knows how to take care of us before the judgment bar of God. Our friend that sticketh closer than a brother. Yea, who, when our own parents should forsake us, amazing supposition, yet if they should forsake us, he'll take us up. The one who has pledged us, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. Trust me and follow me. Have you done so? Won't you do so before it's too late? Won't you do so without longer delay? He asks that if you hear his voice, tell him, yes, my waiting ends, my delay ceases. I yield to Christ, and I'll yield to him today. Have you? Come out openly avowing your friendship for him. Do you say, I'm right at the point, I'm right at the line? Come over the line. Come over the line. Cross the line. Leave indecision behind, and today let this be the birth hour of your complete surrender to Christ. You say, I've made the surrenders and want a place in the church. I want to come by letter or on my statement having you get my letter, or on the confession of my personal surrender. Come and welcome. Just when I need him, Jesus is near. Just when I falter, Jesus is near. 300 is the number. Just when I need him most. Just when I need him most. You're tarrying 2 or 3 minutes reverently here. And who today wants to follow Christ coming to the church, or today wants to make your definite, public, personal surrender to him? Come on, as we sing today. Now.
Just when I